It was supposed to be the first quiet weekend in months. I'd driven up the long, tree-lined road to my lakeside cabin, a place I'd built with my own hands over 15 years ago. The air was crisp, pine-scented, and clean. When the reflection of the sunrise hit the water, I could almost forget about the endless arguments I'd had at the county office that week. But as I turned the final bend, my stomach dropped. The cabin, my cabin, was gone. Not a single board, not one wall, not even the handmade porch swing my late wife had loved to sit on. All that remained was a pile of splintered wood, twisted metal, and a crooked, condemned by HOA, sign staked in the ground like a victory flag. For a moment, I couldn't move. The world went silent except for the slow lap of the water against the shore. My cabin wasn't just a structure. It was the only place I could still feel her presence, the smell of her lavender candles, the old mug she always forgot by the window, the sound of her humming while painting on the deck. And now, it was gone. I parked the truck, got out, and picked up a scrap of the sign. It had the Lakeview Shores HOA logo printed across the top, and HOA I didn't even belong to. My property sat outside their jurisdiction by almost half a mile. I'd made sure of that when I built it. They had no right, none, but apparently, they thought they did. As I scanned the ruins, I noticed fresh tire tracks, heavy ones, like those of a demolition truck. The ground was still damp, the soil turned up. This had happened just hours ago. I clenched my jaw so tight my teeth hurt. And that's when I heard it, voices. 3 people were walking down from the road above. One of them was a woman in a stiff blue blazer and wide-brimmed sun hat, holding a clipboard like it was a badge of honor. The others were men, both wearing Lakeview Shores HOA polos. "Excuse me," I called out, my voice sharper than I intended. "You know who did this?" The woman glanced up, clearly annoyed that someone was speaking to her like an equal. "Yes," she said crisply. "The Lakeview Shores HOA authorized removal of this unpermitted structure." My heart pounded. Unpermitted? That cabin was inspected, approved, and registered before your HOA even existed. She gave a tight, practiced smile. "Our records show otherwise. You can file an appeal if you believe." I cut her off. "File an appeal? Lady, you destroyed my home." Now the men shifted uncomfortably, but she didn't blink. "If it was properly permitted, I'm sure you can provide documentation. Otherwise, this land will be cleared and integrated into our scenic shoreline project. We're expanding the walking trail." That's when it hit me. They hadn't just destroyed my property by mistake. They wanted it. "Who signed the order?" I demanded. "I did," she said proudly. "Karen Long, HOA president." I stared at her. "You just admitted to unauthorized demolition on private property. You're trespassing on HOA land," she shot back. "Now I suggest you leave before I call the sheriff." I almost laughed. The sheriff. I knew Sheriff Peterson personally. We'd been fishing together just last summer. But I didn't say that. Not yet. Instead, I just smiled, slow and cold. "Sure," I said. "Call whoever you want." She smirked. "Gladly." As she walked off, I took a deep breath and pulled my phone from my pocket. A few swipes later, I had the county's GIS map open, showing the exact property lines. My cabin sat squarely outside their HOA boundary. Every inch of it was mine, legally and officially. And as fate would have it, I knew every law, every ordinance, and every loophole that governed this county, because I was the chief building inspector. I spent the next hour documenting everything. Photos, timestamps, GPS coordinates. I collected samples of debris, took video footage of the "condemned by HOA" sign, even measured the tracks left by their trucks. Then, I made one phone call, to the County Code Enforcement Division. By Monday morning, the Lakeview Shores HOA office was swarming with county vehicles. I arrived late, on purpose, wearing my county-issued badge clipped neatly to my belt. The look on their faces when I walked through the glass doors was worth every ounce of rage I'd held back that weekend. Karen Long was in the lobby, red-faced and furious. "You can't just barge in here, this is private." "Actually," I said, flashing my badge, "it's a publicly registered HOA under county jurisdiction, which means I can." She froze, her mouth opening slightly as I continued. "I'm here to investigate a series of code violations, illegal demolitions, and destruction of private property. The warrant authorizes a full audit of your operations." The color drained from her face. I gestured to my colleagues. "Begin with the demolition orders. I want copies of every single authorization signed in the last 6 months." As they started pulling files, I leaned closer to Karen. "You should have checked the property records before you brought down my cabin." Her eyes widened. Your cabin. That's right. I held her gaze. You demolished the personal residence of the county building inspector. Without a permit. Without jurisdiction. Silence filled the room. The two men from before were now whispering to each other, looking anywhere but at me. I didn't know, she stammered. No, I said, voice low and controlled, you didn't care. Over the next few hours, I supervised the audit. And what we found was worse than I expected. Unauthorized fines, misused funds, false property claims. They'd even been targeting non-HOA homeowners with fabricated, compliance fees. Every dirty secret came spilling out under the weight of the county's authority. By noon, the HOA office was under official investigation. The county seized their records. Karen was ordered to step down pending review. And the board's legal counsel was scrambling to contain the fallout. But that wasn't enough. Not for me. 2 weeks later, I filed a civil lawsuit, one personally addressed to each board member responsible for the demolition. Property destruction, emotional distress, illegal seizure. The county's attorney backed me, and within months, the HOA was drowning in legal bills. In the meantime, I began rebuilding my cabin. Only this time, I did it bigger, a 2-story structure with a wraparound deck, lakeside fire pit, and reinforced beams. Every inch was inspected, approved, and documented in triplicate. One morning during construction, I saw Karen Long standing at the edge of the property line, arms crossed, staring. She looked smaller somehow, like all the arrogance had drained out of her. Can I help you? I called out. She hesitated. I just wanted to apologize, she said quietly. I nodded once. Apologies noted. Her gaze dropped to the ground. They said you'd lost your wife here. I didn't know. For the first time, her voice didn't sound like an order. It sounded human. I built this place for her, I said. And I'll keep rebuilding it. Because some things, I paused, looking at the water glimmering behind her, can't be taken down. She turned and left without another word. When the lawsuit settled, the HOA was forced to pay full restitution for the demolition, plus damages. The county disbanded the entire board and installed temporary oversight. The land they'd tried to seize was permanently zoned as private, untouchable by any future HOA expansion. And me, I finally took some time off. That evening, as I sat on my new porch, the sun dipped low over the lake, turning the surface gold. I could almost hear her laugh again, light and soft, like wind chimes in the breeze. Got it back, I whispered to the empty air. Just like I promised. A loon called from across the lake, echoing through the twilight. I smiled, because justice, like the water before me, always finds its level.